Good afternoon, everyone. I know there was everyone's clicking in now and joining in. So I just want you to, good afternoon, everyone, shedders and family and friends, hopefully joining us this afternoon on a windy Wednesday. I want to introduce you to woodworker, artist and teacher Ronan O'Sullivan, a Kerryman married to a Dublin woman and living in Cork. So that's quite the Rainbow Nation there. He's currently in the process of completing his own fully insulated 48 square metre metal shed. Having already completed the groundwork, built the formwork and poured the concrete, he's currently fitting out the shed to be an efficient multi-purpose workshop that is easily maintained and of course looks cool. Ronan's going to give us a chat this afternoon, talk about construction, efficient workshops. And look, lads, if you're out there, Ronan, really questions, you can't ask enough. So send them in, the chat function, the question and answer function. They're all at the bottom of your screen. You know, we're doing this feature where we're starting to set up, a lot of people are interested with using this downtime to develop their sheds more and to improve their lot in regards to the physical space when we get back into them. So this is great. So you're very welcome, Ronan, and I'll let you take it away.
Fantastic. Thank you, Frank. So look, first I'd like to say to you, it's an absolute pleasure being here with you today. I think Men's Sheds organization is really one of the truly remarkable organizations out there. So it's a privilege to be here for you. And I wish, to be honest with you, I've always thought it would have been something great for my father to go to Men's Sheds, but unfortunately wasn't there for him at the time. He was a woodwork teacher. And when he retired, he just kind of stayed at home and worked at home. And I think Men's Sheds is just brilliant. So yeah, it's a privilege.
Great. Thank you.
I suppose, yeah, I'm a Kerryman living in Cork, married to a Dublin woman. I've been teaching woodworking art for about 20 plus years, and I finally started the pandemic last year. I had a bit of land on the back of the garden. I said, what the hell, now or never, and started getting it ready for the shed. A lot of work and stuff like that in it. And I suppose what I would like to do with you today, if I can, is kind of, I suppose there's going to be some of you out there that are interested in making your own sheds or whatever, or refitting your ones or whatever we can do. All I'd like to sort of show you today is it's been my solution to a problem that is kind of unique to me, and maybe it might help you as well. So basically, where I wanted my shed, I'll give you a little slideshow here, kind of to tell the story of the working and the building of it. And if you have any questions, again, throw them off to Frank, and I'd be happy to answer.
Brilliant.
Okay. That is the one I'm sharing. So I suppose it all started off where you have to clear your ground. Okay, first most important thing, you have to have a nice solid base for that shed to fit on, because where I got mine, it's a pad shed, so you make a big massive concrete form, you put it in the ground, pour your concrete in, let that dry and build your shed up on top of that. So obviously first step in that is clearing your land. Then you're bringing in your 502 or your 802, which is your hardcore. It's a limestone mix. You get it in by the ton, you compact it down, and again, that's your lovely flat surface for your shed to be placed upon. All that, no, in fairness, I had an awful problem here, okay? I had a long, narrow shed. That's what I wanted, was a long, narrow shed. To me, it kind of just suited my brain to have a process where you go in the door, and as you're going in, you're dealing with certain machinery. I didn't want a rectangular shed, I wanted a long one.
Yeah.
And so that means that I had to basically I had to get about 8 truckloads in of hardcore. But in fairness, it's only about, I think, 40 quid for 5 tons of it, something like that. It's cheap, but you need a lot of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So compact that down, and then you're basically building your formwork for that. As you can see here, probably you can see a little line on the hardcore there. Yeah. I brought across, luckily I had water and I had electric in this shed, so I literally just connected them over. This is my electric supply and this is my water supply. And literally 2 4x2s down on the ground, build your formwork for the shed. The crowd that I got mine from, the way that they wanted this done, they wanted this slab to be built about 400 mil bigger than the finished size of the actual shed, so that they wouldn't have any issues fitting it in place. Now, there's 2 schools of thought with that. Some people swear by making the shed base exactly the same size as the shed and having the metal coming down over the sides. There's pluses and minuses with that. With this crowd, let's put it this, I did my research and I went with them for a reason. They had a nice system going on. Anyway, so you build your formwork. Once formwork is in, you get your plastic, put it down so you're not getting water seeping up from the ground afterwards. And then you get your concrete in. Okay, this is only a rough screed, a rough level. You're not sort of polishing this or anything. You're just wanting a flat, hard, solid base.
What
Once that's
quality of
in-
plastic? Sorry to interrupt.
Sorry?
What quality of plastic?
Oh, I think it was 150 off the top of my head. It's builder's plastic.
Right, okay.
The heavy gauge stuff.
Yeah.
The very, like this took, I think this took a sheet, it took a full roll and a half a roll again.
Yeah.
And I sealed the join. Then I had tape that I sort of sealed it all in. You just don't want water getting up from underneath.
Yeah.
Concrete's poured. Again, you can see the little water pipe sticking out. You can see the electric pipe sticking out. All services are ready to be put in. You let it dry. And then here you might see as well, it's very important you do this. If you're building any concrete form over 6 meters in length or even 5 meters in length, you really have to cut it on purpose. You have to create a structure point where that concrete will fail, because concrete will fail once it goes over 5 meters. It will crack. That's why footpaths have them. That's why if footpaths don't have them, you've cracked footpaths. So you might see a line there where I've cut in with an angle grinder, and that's when that concrete cracks, you want it to crack there. Okay. Then the lads come in, plop in the shed. 3 men, 5 hours. In fairness, they could have had it done in 3. And so it just basically it clips into place really, really handy. Now, the one I went for here, I went for 12 by 4. And I went 12 by 4. I could have gone 5 by 8 or whatever, but the long shed with one pedestrian door at the side. I don't have windows, and I don't have it's fully insulated. I've no light panels in the ceiling, nothing like that. I wanted a nice, cozy little snug shed down the bottom of my garden that I could put machinery and stuff like that into and not be worried about them getting flipping covered in condensation every night, all night. Windows, I might put a window in afterwards, but I'm happy with it the way it is. It's a little bat cave. It's a nice dark room, as you can see. So then your shed is in, roller door, like all together now, I suppose I may as well tell you this, what this cost me from them. I have no problem talking money. It was 8,300. Now you had to get, with the pedestrian door, fully insulated the whole thing. So 8,300.
Wow.
The way that I kind of, and I did, I'm a hard haggler, sure, I'm a Kerryman living in Cork, I'm a hard haggler, but basically the crowd that I went with, again, the bang for buck for what I got here. Like I did a couple of rough math and I figured out how much the metal costs and how much all that channeling and the 4-inch and 2-inch and everything. 3 men paid for half a day. I don't know how they made much money on it, to be honest with you. 8,300 was, I felt very good value for this.
Yeah.
Finished shed, as I said, all I was looking for, one big roller door, one pedestrian, that's it. No windows, no humming and dinging, all insulated.
What's the width
So
of your pedestrian door? Sorry, is that standard?
That's probably 3 meters.
Probably. I said the
There,
roll-up
yeah.
one. The pedestrian one is.
That's the pedestrian one, sorry, is, that's a healthy meter.
Yeah, looks at you. Yeah.
It's a meter in width, I'd say.
Yeah.
And as you can see, lovely, all insulated, all around, banging, really, really like that. So, and you get, oh my God, and a big, big, big floor space. Again,
Wow.
humming and singing,
Yeah.
one door, one roller. Next thing to do then, so if you look back here, sorry, the way this crowd did it, you'll see in the bottom of each wall here, there's a 2-inch metal channel running along there. That's the level for your screed. So what you're supposed to do then is afterwards is get another delivery of concrete. So you're now putting in a 2-inch lip inside the finished level of the shed.
Yes.
Of course, you put the plastic down again. I put down I didn't need to put the first sheet of plastic under the big pad, but I did. You put another sheet of plastic down here, and then you pour in 2-inch level of concrete in on top, and you float it like this. This is like a mirror finish now on the inside. So it is flawless floor. And it's very easy to control. It's a bit of a pain in the butt getting it in. I had to have a dumper. So literally I had a small dumper driving it in after driving all the way down to the bottom of the garden, then driving it in the door into the end and being very careful, because if you locked it hard, you tear the plastic, and you need to be very, very gentle with it. But got it done in a few hours and then just screeded it and polished it, and it was lovely. And once that's done, you have to seal the floor. You have to let it dry out, and you have to put concrete paint on, because if you don't, you'll be dealing with dust for the rest of your life.
Right.
You have to. It will just seal. So once it's dry, you can't do it the next day or the day after. You have to give that concrete 7 days, whatever, 8 days, whatever, you know by the color of it.
Yeah.
And you do not do it on the wet, but once it's dry, and it's very frustrating. They were the big master shed completely empty and you can't do anything with it.
Gaggins get in, yeah.
You're waiting for it to dry.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, paint on, seal that floor, so now you'll never have a bag of dust coming out of a room that isn't something you create yourself.
Well, one question.
And yep.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I just want one question came in from Mick Malloy from our Dar Shed. He said, did you require planning permission? Was that a feature in choosing the size and dimensions, or you just lashed it on?
No planning permission, and I hope we didn't need it. But I would imagine this as being a non-permanent structure, so I would imagine that they couldn't really be saying much to you, and I didn't have any neighbours to worry about.
Yeah.
So I suppose it had advantages there. Yeah. The size of it was just simply down to my own logic, which was either right or wrong, but I wanted a long, thin shed rather than a wide rectangular shed.
But it wasn't planning permission based.
There's no planning involved at all, no. And as I said, if there's any county councillors working here, I'm sorry.
No. I think it was more that the lads trying to figure if that's a factor in the dimensions.
Gotcha. Now, one thing I failed to mention here, okay, is so obviously I had to get concrete twice here. I had to get concrete in for the slab, and then I had to get concrete afterwards for that 2-inch lip. Yeah. What I did on the second pour was I also poured an apron. And again, if I could advise you 2 things, if you are going to get a structure like this put in, if you're even thinking of turning it into a workshop, 2 things that I would absolutely highly recommend are get it insulated, make sure you have a concrete apron. Because if you don't have a space outside your door that you can bring stuff out and not be getting your shoes covered in muck and all the rest of it, it pays for itself. So on the second pour, I did the 2-inch lip on the inside and I did that apron as well, so I can drive down and start loading away.
Yes, yeah, very good. Raymond McBride asks, did you use any reinforcing bar or mesh at all?
I didn't have to, but I did. I had some, you might see it here, from when I did an extension in the house a few years ago. I had, where are they? There. I had loads of sort of corner rebar left over. So wherever I knew that there was a column coming down in the shed and it was coming in 3 sections, let me get that for you. So you'll see, let's go to the one before. If you imagine the shed was 3 panels in length. And the way they made this was actually very, very clever, okay? So they brought these big, massive A-frames. They're 4-inch, they're the only 4-inch section I have. Everything else is 2-inch. But they had these large A-frames made out of 4-inch steel and with a brace across the bottom of it. Okay, so you can see there's a metal bar going across the bottom. Now that just basically helps it retain its shape while you're building the shed. Once you have the shed built, they take away those 2 bottom pieces. Do you get me? But it holds and maintains the shape of it while they're building the shed. So if you imagine, I had three panels in length, which means I had 2 of these columns. So I made sure that I had rebar in the corners. I made sure I had rebar under the column here and under the column here, and then the opposite side as well. So I had a bit of rebar, but no. 4 inches of concrete will take an incredible amount of weight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think, and now the thing is, like, again, as I said, the 2 main factors from doing it myself is it's so important. Have a clean area outside the door that you can work outside when the weather is good. I think that's so psychologically beneficial. You're not stuck inside in your back cave. You can choose to be in a dark room, or you can choose to be outside in the fresh air. And the second thing is get it insulated. I've had this now through this winter. I haven't had a drop of water coming in. And there's been very, very few mornings that have actually come in and there's been any water. And the only place where I would get water on the inside of this place is unfortunately back at the roller door, because that's the one part you can't insulate.
Yes, yeah.
But what I will do in time there is, depending on how much of an issue that is, I'll either have a small dehumidifier in here, or I probably will build a little box around the doorway, almost with a curtaining thing, that I can have a little, as my father said, the most important thing with insulation is still air. So it doesn't matter, once the air, it's like a draft lobby. It's all you want is a space with still air, and then you have insulation.
Yes.
So, I'll eventually get onto that, I think. But I'm busy enough.
Yeah, you have enough on this next winter.
So so that's it. Really, I can't sing highly enough how great it is having a space where you can just come down. And now I've been laying it out for the last couple of months. This was I think I decided I was getting the shed. Believe it or not, my wife convinced me to do it. Let's say she's regretting that now. But she convinced me, I'd say, in April of last year. And I was working on the site by June, and I had the shed in by the start of July. And then come September, when I went back to work as a teacher, that was when I started putting in the evenings and the weekends and kind of kitting the place out. I gave it a load of time to dry out properly and all that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been hard riftings from last September now.
A question from Dunleer Men's Sheds, Barry Devlin. The cost of insulating the floor.
Yeah. Cost of insulating the floor. The floor in this is not insulated.
Right.
But let's put it like this. Okay, so I think putting insulation in the floor would be, you can build up an awful lot of hardcore. I had plenty of hardcore. I'd say about 6 inches in certain parts. And okay, it's funny you asked this, but I actually buried quite a bit of insulation underneath the shed, because I built a house last year or 2 years ago that was ICF, which is basically it's an aeroboard house with concrete poured into the middle cavity, unlike a cavity house, where you have wall, and air.
Yeah.
You have air, and wall in the middle.
Wow.
So I had plenty of that left over. So I scooped out a lot of earth, put my insulation down, put my hardcore down on top of that. I haven't had any issues with rising damp, but I have 2 layers of plastic.
Yeah.
It's the water that retains the cold more than anything. So if you have a damp slab, you'll have a cold slab in the cold weather. But as well as that, the other thing that I would say is so insulation on the floor it's tetchy. I wouldn't put it into the concrete because you wouldn't have the strength. But what is very, very important in a shed like this is rubber matting on the floor where you're walking all the time. Because I've even found it myself, my knees and my ankles. If you're here in a cold evening, you've got to have. I have rubber matting on the floor here behind me, and I'm always standing on 3/8 of an inch of foam, always. Because your joints get it.
It just comes up through the ground.
Yeah, and you feel the cold. So yeah, I haven't seen one with insulation in the floor, but my concept was make a bubble of insulation almost.
Yeah.
But even you'll see the pedestrian door there, the small one at the side. And again, very important to get one of those. If you don't have that, you've no easy, quick way into your shed.
Yeah.
You're rolling up the roller door each and every time. So make sure, but even that's fully insulated. That has an inch of insulation, foil backed insulation. It's great. I've had no issues.
Yeah. You mentioned you might put in a window. Where?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Where? What's brought you to? Where's the light? Is it a question of light missing, or is it a question
of? No, I'd say the only reason I would have considered putting in a window is if I felt I needed ventilation in here, if I needed a draft.
Yeah.
And I think I need to give it 12 months to kind of see, is that an issue that I need to address?
Yeah.
So if it is, then I'll put a window in so I can open a window and have air circulating around in here. But by doing that, you're kind of also denying the concept of almost having an airtight bubble. I know it's not airtight, but it's not far off it.
Yeah.
So with airtight, it's about controlling the air you have inside. But I seem to get plenty of ventilation from being in and out.
Yeah. To
be honest. And if I might eventually someday have an office down that end of the shed. And if I do, then I might put a window on there if I don't want to be looking at a wall.
Sure. Yeah.
Some trees.
Yeah.
But will I sort of give a quick little tour around here, Frank?
Please. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
No problem. So I'm going to put on big lights now. And again, I'm full of advice here. I'm a Kerryman. But again, I would always look at a space to work in for it to be effective, for you to enjoy it. I think lighting is really important. You need to have nice lighting where it's nice to sit down and just concentrate on one or two little things. Have a localized light. But then at the same time, you also have to have big light. You want to get in cleaning, so you know what I mean? Don't have one bulb sticking down in the middle of the ceiling and kind of, I would always have little focus points of light. Now, if that's not too bright for you?
No, that's fine.
No.
Is that a fluorescent bulb? Is it? That's a...
No, God, no, LED.
LED.
You can get these, I swear to God, you can get these things. They're so cheap now. These are, I'll show you with them off because it'll be too bright otherwise. These guys. 4 foot long. They cost 28 euros in wires. They're made in China and they give absolutely insane amount of light.
Wow.
And I have 3 of them. I have a 2 foot, I have a 4 foot, and a 4 foot.
Wow.
So you get it, as you can see, I look ghostly white because they're so bright, but my God, these LEDs are incredible.
Yeah, yeah. And
so I suppose I may as well start at the roller door if that's all right, and kind of give you a quick look.
Lanarag.
Right, so first thing when I came into the shed is I wanted to have a wood store. Okay. So I have all these racks. I have all my 2x2, my 2x1s. I have a shelf, moldings. I can buy with sheets, everything literally on one wall. And with that as well, wood. And wood is a nightmare when it's stored. I put up the, no, I hate to do my first plug here for my YouTube channel, but if you look at my first episode, I show you how I made this. But basically, I have just an ordinary bracket system. You know the bracket systems you just literally hook in the metal ones? You buy them in every Woodies, every hardware store you go to.
Yeah.
That's what this is made from. It's every single bit of it. I just basically added onto them, bolted long pieces of wood onto them with a little lip on the front, and now I have a wood store that I can change around and do whatever I want to, whenever I want to. So as I said, I only did this basket last week. I can take all that off if I want and move it around. And I just my good woods, I have a couple of pieces of oak and aroca and mahogany bits and pieces, and then one for sort of shorter rough cuts of 4x2, ones that take up a lot of room.
Well, I'm going to stop you there just 1 second.
Yeah.
Sorry. Could you just stop from sharing the screen so we can see more of what you're showing us on the camera?
Of course. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No. And
there we go.
That's perfect. And
Like good?
Yeah. And I'll hide myself for now, just to give you the. There we go.
Cool.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah.
Lovely. So as you can see now, the way my concept here was long pieces of wood on one side. Again, for context, here's the back of my roller door. So immediately on the left-hand side, as I come in the door, there's all my wood storage, all my long lengths. I have as a 2x2s, coming through moldings, all my long 8-foot. Underneath that, I have my sheets of plywood starts vertically, and if I need to carry any big pieces like 4x4, I'm just working with 2x4 here. I'll be building something over. It's all nicely stored away there in the bottom.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Moving over, you have your baskets for your boards and for your shorter lengths, your offcuts. Because man, nobody wants to be dumping. And then over here, then you have shorter lengths. Again, I've nice woods of Arokas, mahogany. These are just nicely stacked. I have the whole time. A really funny little thing I did the last day. I did this. I love moldings. I always love moldings. Bit of 4-inch pipe. Able tie them together, and now I can keep short lengths, medium lengths, and tall lengths of molding in a bit of sewage pipe, and it works really well.
Very good.
All my storage on one side. Okay.
Yeah.
Then down here, you're coming to the heavy machinery. And now I don't have big machine. All my stuff is benchtop. Again, if I wanted to have a proper table saw in here, I'd be able to fit one table saw. But in the same space as one big table saw would take up a big cast iron one with all the room you need around it. I have a table saw, a router table, a sander, and a lathe, all in the same space that would take up, because they're all bench mounted. But I'm building them into the benches. So if you can see here, for example, you can straight in the door.
Your sound's gone there a bit. We lost you on the sound. We just lost you on the sound there for a second.
Oh, sorry.
All right.
So
yeah, every time you point it away, we're losing you. When you point away from the mic, sorry.
You hear me?
We can hear you only, unfortunately, only when you look at the camera. When you point it away, the mic direction, we're not getting you.
Take him shot. I get it. So I'll stay in shot. Gotcha.
Carcalo,
So
yeah.
over my head.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
There you go. Here over my head, I have a
Brilliant.
built-in table saw and a built-in rotor table. My arm is moving different now to where it's melting my brain. And they're all built in. They're all built into a table, to a big, large bench. Now everything here as well is built on wheels. I can literally roll this fella out.
Wow.
If I want it. I can do one arm. There we go. So basically, he can move independently of everything else. Okay.
Wow.
So he can move around the place. So if I'm ever, I don't know, in a position where I can buy a Jag E-type, I might be able to park it in here. I can move him over to the other side if I want.
Good.
As well, then you have then opposite that as well as an outfeed table. If anybody here has ever heard of a thing called the Pulp Bench, P-A-U-L-K, I would guide you towards my third episode on YouTube because I show you how to make this. But there's a thing called a Pulp Bench, and by God, they're handy. Simple concept of you have all these holes on top. Okay, I don't know if you can see that. There's holes on top of the table.
Can see those, yeah.
And you can do this with anyone. I'll just put it off here, and you get these special clamps. Okay?
Oh yes, yeah.
So the clamps, they have like an L-shaped bar at the bottom of them, and then for keeping wood in place, you simply put it in.
Oh,
and you
yes.
have a clamp on the table.
Brilliant.
Because the table.
Yeah. Wow. Right.
And my rotor table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We just missed the last description after it went in. You put the vise in. You just showed us underneath.
Gotcha. Sorry, I was saying that's the whole point of the Pulp Bench. Is it's a table with the top surface and a bottom surface, and you kind of build walls around it, like just a carcass of a box.
Yeah.
Put out a few access ports so you can put tools and whatever you want in here.
Brilliant.
But it allows you, because you have the space underneath for the clamps to get gripped.
That's powerful.
Really handy. Really, it's my dog's body bench. Everything is beaten on this.
Yeah.
It's wonderful to have, and I have the space for it. And again, that's on wheels, so I can move that around if I wish as well. And I've clipped all my clamps and stuff like that are just attached onto the side of it.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
You can't have too many clamps. Really can't.
Many hands.
And then beside that, there's my table saw rotor table, and then I have a sanding machine. And I have a lathe that I got in Lidl a couple of weeks ago for 90 quid.
Stop, you can't beat that.
Why wouldn't you? For 90 quid, for God's sake. Why wouldn't you? And then slightly further up then is, and I really like this, this is my miter saw then.
Right.
I've built in the most important tool in the workshop, I think. The miter saw does so much work for you. But that's all built in. I had all that built into a vacuum unit as well. It is all kind of built in behind the saw, so it's when I have it working and I'm sawing, it's just sucking out the dust as I'm creating it. It's just keeps it an awful lot cleaner. But that's a whole other conversation. And by the way, that'll be my next episode, or the next episode will be the next episode on my YouTube channel.
Fantastic, yeah, and we give that
a really clever thing that I think that I was really proud of myself thinking of this. We've all seen them in the hardware stores, kinetic switches, okay?
Yeah.
And how a kinetic switch works, it's a very, very simple concept, right? You have an extension lead, and you have a remote control button for that extension lead. So what this is it takes a little bit of effort to push it in. So you're creating a small little bit of energy, and they use that energy to send the signal to turn on that extension lead. And what I have is, I have this little button beside my saw. So when that's my dust extraction system is coming on.
Very good.
Really simple. The dust extraction system is plugged into the extension lead, and it's always turned on, but I can control it
remotely. Yeah.
with this.
Yeah.
Not moving around the workshop, turning it on and off.
Yeah.
So then I suppose storage is very important. Again, I'm still working away at this. I'm working my way into the shed.
Yeah.
And long bench. Again, eventually there will be a large assembly table built in front of me here as well. And I have another table to build over there. So I ain't finished building tables yet. And then over to the side, I'll introduce you to my dog if you want.
Oh, yes.
I built him his own space here in my workshop. So he's there. You can see him all, I hope, can you?
Hello, Dusty.
That's Dusty.
Welcome to the Shedcast.
Yeah. So I lit another thing that I did there a couple of weeks ago, and it will be the next night. Maybe it's tonight. No, it's next week's episode on my YouTube channel. I built a unit over here. Now, people think I'm daft. I think I'm daft myself, but I built it for the dog bed, a sink, and a leaf blower. I needed to store those three things together here. A leaf blower, brilliant for cleaning out a workshop. So I kept back here the whole time, plug it in, blow the place out the door anytime I need to. It's really easy to keep. And I needed a place for my dog, a nice little dark corner there in front of my sink. And you have to have a sink. Because if I'm ever kicked out of the house, I need to be able to wash the clothes.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah, and so I'm working away. As you can see down the bottom here now. Oh, sorry. This is drill press. Again, loads of storage, all my knickknacks, my hooks, the small little bits and pieces.
Yeah.
Place here for my bolts, and a place up here for bolts and all the rest of it, all based around the drill. And then that's the view of it so far.
That's fantastic. And can I ask, did you build the storage unit, the bolts? Did you build that yourself?
Oh yeah. Well, I had bits and pieces. I think the two little small containers over here came from Aldi. They were £10 each. So two of them. They were 20 quid.
Yeah.
More than enough.
Yeah.
And I had a small little unit here, and I had loads of those blue boxes. So I just kitted them all in around the drill. Fantastic. That'll be my 2 weeks from now episode on my YouTube channel.
Okay, and we'll give that a plug afterwards, and with the video too. No, it's great to go back in detail and look at the YouTube. So.
Oh, absolutely. And like literally, my concept was, you might have seen earlier on, I had the photograph of the car parked outside the door with the wood up on top of the roof.
Yeah.
The shed was completely empty. And that's when I started filming. I started filming the day I started bringing stuff into this shed. So absolutely every single thing that you see here, every bit of it is divided into episodes, every single bit of it. And as you can see, I ain't finished, because here is my shed. That's where I've worked up. And I still have all this behind me.
Wow.
And I don't really know what I'm going to be doing here yet, but I want to get a proper bandsaw. It's the only tool that I want to get a big one of, because I want to get a good big bandsaw. I want to get a floor mounted bandsaw.
Right.
Everything else can be tabletop. You can do, the stuff you could do in here is unreal. You can work on anything. You can work on big lumber, small lumber, anything, electronics, artwork, whatever. It's this perfect space for making stuff.
And where are you venting out the extractor fan, can I ask?
Oh, right. I'm not. Okay. So a little bit of a funny story there, right, with this. Okay. So what I did was I went onto Amazon. Let me get you a light. Hang on a second, please. You'll need light for this. As you can probably see, I've quite a bit of stuff black in here. It's really the color du jour. I just made my mind up when I started this. I said everything is going black except for my countertops. That's just the way that I want it. But what I did was I got one of these. Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now, what that is a dust separator. Cost 50 quid on Amazon. And it's the same way as a Dyson. It has a cone inside of it. So you have air coming in, and the air is then swirling around this cyclone. And while it's doing that, all the dust is falling down to the bottom because it's heavier than the air, and it falls out the bottom. But the air is then continues up into the vacuum unit. Now, what that does for you is two things. Number one, it takes a huge percentage of the dust out of the air of the actual it's capturing it at source. So you're not breathing in, 30% of what you should have been, if you know what I mean. That can only be good for you. But what it does as well is it doesn't block up the filters. It doesn't do anything like that because it's taking the dust, 95% of the dust out of the equation. Now, again, it's tricky. I wish I could kind of show you while I'm screen so you can hear me. Is that a bit better?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I have done here, it's kind of complicated, but I have a 2-inch plumber's pipe from the heat merchants. That was my sort of starting concept of everything. Everything, because they fit. And you can get a friction fit is plenty for a dust extraction system. With something like this, something small like this, friction fit is perfect. You don't need to be clamping joints together or anything.
Yeah.
So ordinary 2-inch pipe. And I have that running behind this cabinet up to my microphone. Okay?
Yeah.
Now you'll see the bendy hose. That comes up, takes a right-hand turn and goes into this dust extraction system. So all my dust is now falling down that 4-inch pipe.
Right.
Let me.
Yes. Yeah.
No. The only reason it's like this at the moment is because the first capsule I put in actually included. But that's when.
Yes.
And then by the way, the last thing is the
We're just losing you on the sound there.
sorry.
All right.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah. Perfect.
So
now, yeah.
the orange thing there is the top of a traffic cone that I basically put because I needed to reduce from a 4-inch pipe to a 2-inch inlet to a 50mm inlet.
Yes.
So
Yes.
flipping traffic cone, sure, it's what you need. It's plastic and it's tough, and so
and they can be found.
Yeah,
no more,
yeah, we won't go there. I think the planning authority will be
They can be bought in your local hardware store.
Yeah, that's all I need now on Wednesdays. The planning authority getting on to me and people coming at me for nicking traffic.
Sorry you ever talk to the sheds, yeah. Very good.
If you can imagine, the dust is coming in,
yeah.
The 2-inch pipe comes in here, swirls around, all the dust then falls down into that 4-inch pipe and into my bin, but the air continues up into that.
Yes.
So it's never getting clogged.
Yeah.
It literally, you're always separating the dust from it. And like I said, it's only like that at the moment because I had the idea that I wanted to collect the dust in a separate bin. But this is actually kind of funny. I'd awful difficulty trying to get a container that met my criteria. It needed to have a flat top. It ideally would have been see-through so I could see how much dust I was collecting. It needed to be reasonably airtight and all the rest of it. So I spent ages looking for something thin and narrow that would work. And finally came to me. So I got a dog food container. You know, the big plastic ones, the tall, thin, flat tops.
Yes.
They have a rubber seal around them. Yeah, happy days, right? So plugged it all up, made all this combo thingy, all the rest of it, filmed it all, turned it on, the feckin' thing imploded.
Oh.
Because it was just too much air coming up through it. So it's very efficient. I'm getting huge suction from it.
Fantastic.
It does take an awful lot of dust out of the room, to be honest with you. But not enough. You still need a leaf blower. You still need to be able to dust the whole room out. Very important to do that. I do that, I'd say, at least once, if not twice.
Yeah.
Just give it a blast. It takes 5 minutes. Do it at the end of the night and go up home.
Fantastic.
Yeah. It's been, I don't know, again, with me with a workshop, I think you really have to go with the KISS principle. You keep it as simple as you can. You have to keep it clean. You have to keep it tidy. If there isn't a place to put a thing, then you should find a place to put it. You know, all my chisels are together, all my saws, everything. They'll all be going into my assembly table when it comes to the end of it. But yeah, keep it organized. If you do it from the start, you will always keep it organized.
Yeah. No. And it's a fantastic testament to that.
Yeah. And again, bringing the simple concept, like even the storage that I do, the tubs, you know, you be simple. Like this is my storage. I have on my main bench, I have a top shelf here that's always open. Okay.
Yeah.
So here I have access to my drills, my angle grinders, any of my small hand tools. It's always open, always available. And then inside in the cabinets, you have tubs. Everything in tubs. like when I was building this and when I was measuring it, the size of a tub is what I sort of, everything came off that. I put the tubs down and I built my legs according to the tub, because everything needs to be in tubs. One tub for painting, one tub for electrics, one tub for plumbing, one tub for X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, it contains leaks. It keeps everything tight.
Exactly, because I'm not organized, and I'd never claimed to be organized. But what I'm really good at doing is putting pencils where pencils go. Do you know, I won't line them up in a jar. Like literally, that's how my bench works. Literally, there's an area for my drill bits. There's an area for my measuring tape. Like, it's really easy to keep it simple when it's like a 2-foot space. You just chuck a pencil into. That's where all my pencils are.
Yeah.
Keep it simple, you know. And yeah, it's been an interesting and busy couple of months, I have to say. Yeah. Don't think it would have happened without the pandemic, ironically. I wouldn't have had the time.
That's a good use of your pandemic.
We got a puppy and I got a shed.
Yeah, absolutely. Just talk about the power outlets, if you can, just briefly.
Okay.
You've power coming in, and then you're charging. How are you charging your cordless and have you different power stations along?
Oh, I do. I have where I had power coming in. So I got a fuse board that came out of an old milking parlor, but it does the job. A friend of mine gave it to me.
Yeah.
Literally, and I got an electrician to come in and do all the wiring for me. I did all the donkey work. Yeah. I put wires where the wires needed to be. I know the difference between 1.5 and 2.5. I laid all the cable for the electrician. They checked it, and then they wired it up. You know, the same category as a traffic cone and a planning authorities. But yeah. But basically, the way I went for it was I have 8 double sockets down along the main wall.
Right.
12 double sockets down along the main wall. So I have 2 under here underneath the drill. Again, 2 here on the left-hand side of the bench. 2 over here with the saw, 2 doubles.
Yeah.
2 over there, and then 2 over in the corner. So is that 14 or 12?
That's
whatever. And I only did wiring on this side. On the other side, I have an extension lead rolling around, and I can kind of bring it outside the door. I spend a lot of time, as much time as I can, outside the door doing my cuts. Yeah. I have trellises, and I have an old pallet and trellises. And man, you have a workbench set up outside your door in 2 minutes. And pallets are great for that. Really good.
Yeah.
I really do. I go out working outside as much as I can. If it's not raining, I'm outside.
Fantastic. And again, and that doubles down on the need for the apron.
Oh, absolutely. It would. If I didn't have the apron, that wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be going out half as much as what I do. The fact that I know that there's an area out there that doesn't get wet, all water drains off into what will eventually be a nice flower bed over there. And I have a flat area, a place that I can park the car, a place that I can do flat work. It's invaluable. It's as important as the room inside the shed is having a space directly outside the door, outside your shed.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
If I could stop you for a minute, I have a couple of questions and I'm going to just fly through them.
No problem. I might take a seat.
Yeah, sit down there, make yourself comfortable. Well, now, Tim Hoban asks the name of the YouTube channel.
The name of the YouTube channel is, okay, again, I'm a bit cheeky, right? So it's Row Creating, RO.CREATING. I would say it sounds like procreating, but that's
yeah. Don't go googling the P.
Yeah, be careful. Don't put a P in front of it. So Row Creating, ROCREATING. I have about 8 episodes up at the moment. Like I teach art and woodwork.
Yeah.
And I have been, as I said, for north of 20 years. My father was a woodwork teacher, and you know, my father. Yeah, he was a very interesting man, but a bit eccentric and eclectic, to be honest. But we have in our home in Dingle, we have the first domestic nuclear fallout shelter in Ireland, built by himself back in the 60s.
My God.
So, and I don't know, I always love explaining things. I always have done. Sure, again, being a Kerryman, loving the sound of my voice. Yeah. But I love teaching people how to make stuff. I love showing people how to make stuff or sharing what little bit of knowledge I do have. My passion for that knowledge.
Yeah.
So literally my first episode was me putting the first piece of wood on this wall, and I have, I think, 8 up at the moment, and I've shown everything right the way through, every bit of it.
Brilliant. Question from Paul from Raytown. Heating the shed.
The shed I've been freezing all winter, being honest with you, any day I've been in here. I will get a little wood burning stove. I've talked to people, and if I know that I'm going to be coming down here for a day, if I know I have a Saturday coming up and I know I'm going to be working, get up in the morning, make my cup of coffee, come down, set the fire, go back and up, eat my breakfast, and let that fire be heating up the room. Yeah, just a little wood burner.
And just flew it out the roof.
Without the roof.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Tim Hoban asked, Middletown men's shed, why no skylights? Is that a heating situation? But you answered the heating.
It's a condensation issue. Now, I'll be honest with you, I went back. I had originally, full disclosure, I had originally planned for this shed, okay, to be 12 meters long, 4 meters wide. I had originally planned to have 3 light things in those plastic sheet rather than the insulation. I had planned originally to have 3 on each side, so 6 in total. And a friend of mine was in here one day, and he's very good at just being quick with his info, and basically he told me I was being an idiot, because you need the bubble, and if you have those plastic panels on the roof, you will have condensation.
Yeah.
And you need it to be a cocoon.
Yeah.
As much of a cocoon as you can. And being honest, before I put on any of these wooden things on the wall or anything like that, I went around with spray foam insulation and I sealed every bloody gap I could see.
Right. That's
a bubble, as much of a bubble as you can.
Would insulation in concrete floor cause it to flex or crack? Dermot Long asks.
You need to have 4 inches of concrete, regardless. Okay, so, and that's why when I was asked earlier on about putting insulation into the floor, you can get concrete that has insulatory properties put into it. Okay, but you need 4 inches of concrete for the strength. It's a rule. Like in the same way as kind of as I said, concrete cracks every 5 or 6 meters. It's just you need 4 inches to have strength, to have weight put on it. So if you're going putting insulation on that, you're putting the insulation underneath 4 inches of concrete. And then I'd have to question how effective it would be.
Yeah.
Or you're putting insulation over the concrete, which is kind of what the rubber matting is.
Yes.
But if you, again, the reason I put down the plastic underneath the subfloor, underneath the pad, and then underneath again, is it's when concrete is wet. Dry, cold concrete is cold, there's no doubt. But wet, cold concrete is extremely wet, or sorry, extremely cold. The wetness, the moisture in it traps the cold more than anything. So I know that underneath me I have dry concrete, so it's never going to get all that as cold as it could be, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But putting insulation down on a shed like this, it costs a fortune.
Yeah.
Because you're talking at least 2 inches of insulation, and that's the high density stuff. That's 80 quid for a 8x4 sheet. Boy, that's the best part of a grand and a half in insulation just for the floor.
Yeah. Another question: rainwater drainage, roof and walls.
Rainwater drainage, again, being lucky living in the countryside, I have loads of ditches and dikes and stuff like that I can just flow it off into. I put drains on both sides. That's it. They've one downspout. That's it. I've had no issues with the water ingress at all. And I'll be honest with you, I did a lot of research on that too, because I was originally going to put the metal coming down for the foundations at the side. But from dealing with the crowd that I got my shed off, I don't want to go making a silly elementary mistake by building something that's going to allow water in. You have to be safe about it. But my thinking on it was you have 2 layers of plastic. Once it's put in right, and I was doing that myself, once it's built well and put in right, then you don't have much to worry about, because where you're standing is 2 inches above the outside of the slab outside the door. Yeah. So water won't go up if it can't get in.
Yeah. No, makes perfect sense. Absolutely. Yeah. Paul Connaughton asks, are the wood stores, are they freestanding or are they attached to the wall?
They're attached to the wall. Again, I would point you towards episode number 1. What I did, I might be able to actually show. No, I'll tell you what I did was, if you think of the framework of the shed again, okay? So you have a top rail, a middle rail, and a bottom rail. I fitted in 2x1.5s into that cavity, that space. Again, it's all in episode 1. I'll be honest with you, you'll see absolutely everything about how I did it and why I did it. Okay. And what that allowed me to do then was, where I wanted my wood store to be, I made sure they were screwed into the lats that were behind the plywood. Yes. So they're hanging off the wall, but of course they're laying on the ground as well. But the walls and the floors are taking the weight of the wood, because again, being conscious, you don't want to put too much weight on one side and disturb the structure of the shed and have it get all twisty and wonky on you.
Yeah.
But again, I have to say, the quality of the shed that I got, I can't complain. It hasn't moved an inch.
Yeah.
It hasn't moved a millimeter.
Well, and we're getting towards the end, and thank you again, Ronan.
No problem.
One question. Sorry, insurance. Was that any special shout out for insurance?
Again, that'll be my wife's department when I get this place up and running.
That's it. Administration up in the main house. Very good.
Yeah,
And
I'll cross that bridge when I come to it.
exactly. And the last question: would you care to give a shout out to the shed builders?
The shed builders,
Shed suppliers, sorry.
I absolutely will. Now, again, I don't want to disparage anybody, but we'll say let's say for argument's sake, there might be a company out there that is very well known for making sheds, okay? And I would not recommend them. The quality of what I got for this place, I have to say, it surprised me how well made it was made. The crowd is called O'Riordan Sheds, and O'Riordan Sheds are based in Charleville. I know Morris there, and I work in Charleville myself, so basically I know Morris, and I've got stuff off them before. I always knew the stuff they made was good, and the price I got this for, the quality of what it is, I couldn't recommend them highly enough. I truly couldn't. They were bang on, like just easy to pay. If someone's easy to pay, you know you've got a good deal.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Ronan, from the Cusson Men's Shed, Joe Faherty and the men have said thank you very much. And from all of us today, that was a fascinating journey, a fascinating presentation. We will be plugging the YouTube channel further.
I know it's complicated. Get on there, like and subscribe, for the love of God.
No, we really appreciate it, and we can only wish you many happy days in
Thank
your
you
shed,
very much.
and to you and Dusty.
Thanks much. He's a good old Egypt, in fairness. He's a lovely old fella. Keeps me company here a lot. And in fairness, again, I'd like to just again say thanks a million. Again, men's sheds, you're like, you're rock stars. It's good on you. You're doing a fantastic thing. And I really do. I've always thought that, because again, from knowing Blarney Men's Sheds, they were brilliant.
Yeah, no, we really appreciate it, and thanks. And we'll keep in touch.
Absolutely.
Slán agus gur míle maith agat.
Right. Good luck. Thanks.